The mirror reflected a version of yourself you barely recognized, eyes shining with unshed hope, lips trembling beneath the faintest smear of red. You had dressed carefully, as though the right outfit might steady your heart, as though elegance could shield you from the storm you feared was coming. Tonight, you were not just an employee stepping into your boss' office, you were a woman preparing to bare her soul to the man who unknowingly consumed every heartbeat, Jungkook. Cold, untouchable, the very definition of authority. And your silent, unshakable crush. He had tried to refuse when you begged him for a meeting, his tone dismissive and sharp. I don't entertain personal requests, especially not after office hours. Go home. But you had pleaded, was breaking with the urgency. You didn't tell me why I didn't tell him that time was running out for you. That this confession might be the last courage you had. At last, with a sigh laced in annoyance, he had agreed. Now, as you stepped into his office, the air felt colder than the marble under your heels. He was seated behind his desk, dialogen, sleeves rolled up, his gaze already sharp on you as though you were wasting his time. You have 5 minutes. Speak, Miss Vine. Your throat tightened, but you forced the words out. Jungkook, I have admired you for so long. Admired? His laugh was bitter, mocking. Do you think I hired you for admiration? This is an office, not some stage for your fantasies. Your chest burned, but you pushed through, hands trembling at your sides. I'm not talking about work. I mean it. I like you. I know you are my boss, but I couldn't keep it in anymore. You are more than. His chair squeezed back as he stood abruptly, the impact of his palm slamming against the desk making you flinch. Enough! His voice thundered through the room. Don't you dare confuse your childish infatuation with something real. You think because I occasionally acknowledge your existence, I owe you feelings. You are an employee, nothing more. The sting was unbearable, but he didn't stop. Do you know what I see when I look at you? Wine, a distraction. An amateur who thinks she can climb above her place with a companion. His eyes were like eyes as he leaned forward. If you came here expecting affection, you came to the wrong man. Tears burned behind your eyes, but you refused to let them fall, not here, not in front of him. I didn't mean to disrespect you, I just thought you deserved to know. Jungkook scoffed, shaking his head. You thought wrong. Do yourself a favor, erase this nonsense before it ruins whatever little respect I had for you. Next time you walk into this office, make sure it's with work, not emotions. Each word was a dagger, and though your heart had already been fragile, his cruelty shattered it beyond repair. You forced yourself to note, gathering the remains of your dignity. Understood, sir, it won't happen again. You turned quickly before the tears would fall, gripping the handle of the door with trembling hands. He didn't stop you. He didn't even glance back to him. This was nothing but a disturbance erased from his evening. But to you, it was the breaking point. He had no idea that behind your confession was a body already betraying you, a heart already feeling you, and he had no idea that while he dismissed you as a distraction, you were walking away to face something far more dangerous than rejection. What he didn't know would haunt him later. The next morning, the office felt different, not for anyone else, but for you. You moved through the corridors with your head held high, your heels kicking against the marble floor in steady rhythm. Gone was the warmth in your tone, the little smiles you used to offer colleagues, and the way your eyes used to follow Jungkook even when you tried to be discreet. You had folded every bit of affection back on yourself. If he thought your feelings were a distraction, then you would become the most disciplined, unshakable employee he had ever seen. No arguments, no explanations, just silence. It was your punishment for him and secretly for yourself. When you entered his cabin with documents, you placed them on his desk without a word. No lingering glance, no attempt at conversation. Jungkook looked up, his brows knitting faintly. That's it. No report, no explanation. Everything is in the file, sir. Your voice was calm, neutral, as if you had been carved out of marble. For a man who thrived on control, Jungkook found this unsettling. He was used to seeing you hesitate, to hearing the softness in your tone whenever you addressed him, but now you are unreadable. Fine, leave. And you did, without another word, without looking back. Days turned into weeks, and your silence remained unbroken. You no longer greeted him in the mornings. You no longer asked if he needed coffee or stayed late under the pretense of helping with files. You stopped existing outside the bounds of professionalism. What Jungkook never saw were the knives. Behind the locked door of your apartments, your world collapsed quietly. The tightness in your chest that you had been ignoring grew sharper. The faint palpitations more frequent. You pressed trembling hands against your heart, whispering to yourself that it was just stress, that it would pass. But deep down, you knew the truth you had been warned months ago. Your heart wasn't strong enough. Surgery had been suggested. You had put it off, telling yourself you had time. Now, time was slipping through your fingers. One evening, you returned a contract to Jungkook's office. He glanced up from his laptop, his sharp eyes narrowing slightly at your lack of expression. You're unusually quiet these days, Miss Ryan. You kept your tone flat, your hands resting neatly against the fire. I only speak when work requires it, sir. Something flickered in his gaze, irritation, or perhaps unease. He leaned back in his chair, studying you as if you were trying to decipher a puzzle. Don't play games. If you are sulking because of that night, drop it. I was clear enough. You met his eyes for the first time, and your calmness unsettled him more than your confession ever had. I don't serve, sir. You said I'm nothing more than an employee, and I understood. So I'm doing exactly that being your employee. The iciness in your tone was deliberate, but what you hide was the faint tremor in your fingers. The way your body ached from exhaustion, your chest tightening with every passing day. Jungkook smirked faintly, masking something he couldn't name. Good. Keep it that way. You nodded once and left, your silence slicing through him more deeply than you realized. The breaking point came one rainy night. Your body finally gave in, collapsing on the cold tiles of your apartment floor, pain surged through your chest, darkness blurring your vision. The last thing you remembered before unconsciousness claimed you was the sound of rain against the window. When you opened your eyes again, you were surrounded by sterile white walls, the steady beep of a monitor echoing in your ears. The doctor stood beside your bed, his expression serious. Miss Vine, we can't delay this any longer. Your condition has worsened. You need her surgery immediately. You swallowed hard, staring at the ceiling. Your first thought should have been fear, but instead your mind whispered his name, Jungkook. The man you had loved, the man who had broken you with his words, the man who still didn't know that the heart he had rejected was literally breaking inside you. For 3 days, your absence was nothing but a faint irritation to Jungkook. The first morning, when your desk was empty, he raised a brow. So, this is her punishment. Silent treatment wasn't enough. Now, she won't show up. By the second day, his irritation sharpened into anger. Unbelievable. All because I told her the truth. She really thought she could sway me with feelings. By the third, he found himself staring at the empty chair across his office more than he liked. The chair where you used to sit, pen in hand, sneaking glances when you thought he wasn't looking. Now it remained vacant, the silence gnawing at him more than he cared to admit. His hand lingered above his phone multiple times, tempted to call, but his pride stopped him. She'll crawl back when she's done sulking. Or so he thought. That evening, fate cornered him. Jungkook had come to the hospital to visit a client injured in an accident. His polished shoes echoed against the sterile white floor. As he passed by reception, he wasn't supposed to hear anything, but he did. Such a young woman collapsing alone like that. Yes, Miss Wine, she's been hiding her condition for months. The surgery might save her, but it's risky. The file in Jungkook's hand slipped, hitting the ground with a soft thud. His entire body froze. The name ricocheting in his skull like a gunshot. No, not you. He spun toward them, his voice low and commanding. Repeat that name. The nurses flinched at his tone. Why? She's admitted here, heart condition. Jungkook's chest constricted painfully. In two strides, he was at the counter, his palm slamming down. Give me her records now. Sir, that's confidential. Jungkook's eyes narrowed dangerously, his voice sharp as a blade. Do I look like a man who hears no? Either hand me her file or I'll have this entire hospital under investigation by morning. Minutes later, he held her medical file in his trembling hands. Each page felt heavier than stone doctor's notes. Test results, warnings, words like chronic failure, surgery recommended, decline, and condition. His throat burned. He whispered almost to himself. She wasn't sulking, she was staying. The realization struck like lightning. While he had mocked you for being childish, while he had dismissed your confession with cruelty, you had been carrying the weight of an illness alone. The paper crumpled in his fists, his voice breaking through clenched teeth. Wine, for the first time in years, the man who prided himself on control felt powerless. A week later, after the surgery, Chungu found himself standing in front of your apartment door. You had not returned home yet, but the landlord had given him permission to collect some of your things. On your desk sat a small wooden box, inside envelopes, neatly stacked, his name written on every single one. His heart stopped. With hesitant fingers, he tore one open. Jungkook, I know you'll never read this, but sometimes the words feel too heavy inside me. So I poured them out here. Today you scolded me for being clumsy, and though it hurt, I still found myself smiling like a fool. What's wrong with me? He sank into your chair, the letter trembling in his grip, the words blood innocence, vulnerability, and an affection he had crushed under his heel. Another letter. The doctor says I need surgery soon. I left it off in front of him. But when I came home, I couldn't stop shaking. I wish I had someone to lean on, but I don't. Sometimes I imagine what it would feel like if you were there just once, holding my hand, telling me I'll be fine. His chest constricted painfully. He forced his eyes shut, but tears betrayed him. Slipping down his face, a third letter, I hate myself for loving you, Jungkook. You made it clear I'm nothing to you, but my heart doesn't listen. If it kills me, I would still choose the pain of loving you over not loving you at all. The paper fell from his hands, his vision blurred. For years, Jungkook had been cold, ruthless, and bothered. Yet here, he was broken by ink on paper. He whispered into the silence, his voice trembling. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you carry this alone? The letter stared back at him, silent witness of a love he had spat upon. Jungkook pressed a hand over his face, the weight of regret suffocating him. And why did I only see you when it was already too late? The hospital room was dim, save for the faint glow of the monitor beside your bed. The steady beep beep of her heartbeat echoed like a cruel reminder to Jungkook that the very heart he had crushed was still fighting to live. He sat beside you, elbows resting on his knees, his hands pressed against his mouth as if in prayer. For hours, he had stayed there, watching your pale face, listening to machines breathe for you, haunted by every word he had ever thrown at you. You were right here, and I was too blind to see you. The guilt was suffocating. For the first time, Yoon Jungkook, the man feared in boardrooms and in every circle, felt powerless. Because power couldn't bring back lost moments. Influence couldn't erase cruel words. And money couldn't buy back the warmth of someone he had pushed away. Sometimes love isn't destroyed by betrayal. Sometimes it withers under neglect and silence. He realized too late that you had not disappeared out of wounded pride. You had been disappearing slowly all along, piece by piece. Behind every quiet smile, every hidden tremor in your hands, every time you had held your chest when you thought no one noticed, and he had not noticed. When you finally open your eyes, days later, the room blurred before settling into clarity. Your chest ached, your body felt weak, but your spirit, the one he thought he had broken, was strangely steady. Chungkook was at his side, instantly, relief floating his features. Wine, thank God you're awake. You blinked at him, expression unreadable. Sir, the single word, cold and formal, sliced through him. He leaned closer, his voice urgent. Don't call me that, please. He swallowed hard, uncharacteristically unsteady. I was wrong about everything about you. You looked away, your gaze fixed on the white ceiling. No, you are a clear remember. I'm nothing more than an employee, a distraction. I accepted that. His chest tightened painfully. He reached for your hand, but you pulled it away before his fingers could graze yours. Don't do this. I read your letters. I know how you felt. Those letters were not for you. They were for me, for the girl who was foolish enough to believe in something she couldn't have. He flinched at the sharpness of your tone. Wine, please. I can't undo what I said, but I can show you. Don't. You finally turned your head, meeting his desperate gaze with eyes colder than he had ever seen. Don't show me now. Where were you when I needed someone to stand by me? Where were you when I was collapsing alone? His lips parted, but no excuse came. Only silence, the same silence that had cost him everything. You exhaled slowly, your voice soft but final. I survived Chungkook, but not as the same woman who once stood in your office, confessing like a fool that girl is gone and this one doesn't love you anymore. The words shattered him more completely than any rejection he had given you. For the first time, John Jungkook tasted the bitterness of being unwanted. He lowered his gaze, his fists clenched tightly. So, this is how it feels. You closed your eyes, exhausted, letting the silence settle once again, but this time it was your silence that held power. And Chungo, for all his control and strength, could do nothing but sit there and drown in the regret of valuing you only when you were already gone from his reach.